While COVID has been ruining theatrical releases for the past 2 years, unless your name is Spider-Man of course, the horror genre flourished in 2021, and that doesn't seem to be stopping in 2022. This year brought us such movies as Willy's Wonderland, which had a fantastic mute Nick Cage dancing his heart out while slamming energy drinks and playing pinball. Netflix set the streaming domain abuzz with their trilogy of Fear Street films over the summer. HBO Max got a boost from the word of mouth on the craziness of James Wan's Malignant. The story seems to be that for horror fans, there is something to look forward to no matter where you watch horror films. But what do we have to look forward to in 2022? This problematic series is getting a soft reboot as a new creative team moves in to revamp the series and have the creeper devouring people again. This time, a horror fanboy and his girlfriend are traveling to a horror convention when she starts to have strange premonitions about the local urban legend of the creeper. Somehow, the monster has returned, and she seems to be in the middle of it all. It's hard to say if this franchise can go back and catch that lightning in a bottle that the first one had, but it's worth a try. Over the last few years, we've seen other franchises like Wrong Turn and Spiral from the Book of Saw go back and see if there was still any meat left on the bones, so why not give the creeper another shot? Esther is back, or I guess, more appropriately, Esther Begins. This prequel to everyone's favorite insane historian who pretends to be a little girl at an orphanage to get adopted by a nice rich family and then try to kill them off. That old Hollywood cliche. Actress Isabel Fuhrman is once again returning to show how Esther got out of the asylum she was in and begins killing people. The actress in the original 2009 film was very convincing in the role and made it believable that no one would realize she was an adult. If she can still pull off that magic in the film remains to be seen, but from her Instagram, it looks like she will have no problem. She must be going to the same Hollywood wizard that Paul Rudd uses. It will be a lot of fun to see how Esther arrived to the point of the first film. Once again, the chainsaw is getting dusted off and Leatherface is grabbing his best face mask. While the franchise has been all over the place in the last couple of decades, this latest installment is hoping to follow in the footsteps of 2018's Halloween. This is going to be a direct sequel to the original 1974 film, while ignoring anything and everything that came after it. Leatherface seems to have been hiding for almost 50 years, but is drawn out when some more young people stumble into his remote Texas home. It's unknown if we'll see any of the other Sawyer family members, but you can't have a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie without Leatherface. With the recent announcement of a Texas Chainsaw video game in the works, the time seems right for renewed interest in the property. This film will be premiering on Netflix when it does make its debut, so hopefully everyone is ready for another trip down to Texas. More Predator. If anyone asks you if you want another Predator film, you always answer with more Predator. Yes, sometimes we get some bad, if only okay films out of it, but still the answer is more Predator. After studio interference on Shane's Black the Predator, fans want another film to bring back the mighty hunter to our screens. Looks like Dan Trachtenberg will be actually delivering a Predator prequel. This film, Prey, will deal with the first time a predator came to Earth to test their hunting skills. This time, they'll have to deal with a woman named Naru, who is a skilled female warrior of the Comanche Nation. Trachtenberg has said that he feels like this film takes it back to what really worked in the original, so get ready to see some skilled warriors fighting a highly advanced hunter alien in a wooded landscape. Jordan Peele quickly rose to the top of the horror genre with his hits Get Out and Us. Last year, the version of Candyman he co-wrote and produced finally hit theaters after a delay. The reception has been pretty split, with it leaning a little more on the positive side. He seems to still have the attention of the horror faithful, so hopefully his next movie, Nope, will deliver. Nothing is really known about the film. The only thing to come out so far has been a poster which doesn't even begin to tell you what the movie is about. All that we see is a cloud descending on a small mountain town. The cloud has a pennant rope hanging out of it. How that translates into the film is anyone's guess. The only real information about the film we have is that Stephen Ewan of The Walking Dead fame, Keke Palmer, and Daniel Kaluuya from Get Out will star. If Peele can keep his hits going, it will solidify him as a modern horror master. His storytelling and direction are bringing unique stories to the big screen, and we need as many of those new stories as we can get. Ethan Hawke hasn't gotten to play a lot of bad guys in his career, so when he takes on such an evil role as he does in The Black Phone, fans have to be excited to see what he will bring. In the film, Hawke plays the Grabber, a child abductor who later kills his victims. After grabbing a young boy, a disconnected phone on the wall of the basement room he's being held captive in begins to ring. On the other end, are the voices of the grabber's previous victims. They begin to help the young child plot his escape and tell him how to avoid the mistakes they made in their own escape. This movie is based on a story by Joe Hill. Hill is a fantastic writer in his own right, but if you need another push to check out his work, then he happens to come from great horror writing parentage, as his dad happens to be Stephen King. Combine that pedigree with horror director Scott Derrickson, and you have the perfect team up to bring an edge-of-your-seat scarefest to the screen. The remake of Hellraiser has been in the works for over a decade, but it never seemed to get off the ground. Clive Barker himself has been pushing for this remake, and now that the rights have finally been freed from the Weinstein Company, it has finally moved ahead. What form the story will take remains to be seen, but it was announced that actress Jamie Clayton would be taking on the role of Pinhead. Some fans question this tactic, but in the original novel, Pinhead, or lead Cenobite as he was known then, was actually overly modified in its S&M mystique, so that it appeared sexless. Barker has been trying to bring it closer to what the original vision of the Cenobites were. And now that platforms like Hulu, where it will be premiering, afford filmmakers to push further boundaries, since they don't have to worry about MPAA ratings and the like. Horror fans are excited for another trip to the Hell Dimension with Clive Barker in the producer's chair. He's spoken in the past about how the franchise has just been run into the ground with horrible sequels and the dilution of what the original intent of the characters were. Now he has a chance to take full reins and steer it back toward what he was originally wanted when he conceived of the character. This new film will take the evil dead out of the cabin in the woods and throw it into a high-rise apartment building. Two estranged sisters try to reunite, but end up getting thrust into a nightmare scenario with flesh-eating deadites. Will the Necronomicon play a role in the film? Sure hope so. If we're lucky, maybe we'll get to see a surprise return of most of the Ghost Beaters team with Pablo and Kelly, or even Jane Levy's Maya from the 2013 remake. Hell, bring them all. After Spider-Man No Way Out, just bring all the characters together. Groovy. Fans sobbed when Ash vs. Evil Dead was cancelled and Bruce Campbell announced his retirement from the character of Ash, except for an upcoming video game and possibly an animated series. But other than that, he's done. As we saw in Halloween Kills, Evil did indeed not die tonight. With Halloween Ends, it seems like everything could in fact come to a conclusion. The new trilogy, started by Blumhouse, Danny McBride, and David Gordon Green, will finish up with the final entry. Jamie Lee Curtis will once again, and presumably for the last time, portray Laurie Strode as she looks to take out Michael Myers for good after his last swath of death through the town of Haddonfield. This time, she is trying to get redemption and revenge for the death of her loved ones and seems ready to go to any length to finally make sure the evil does die tonight. While the new trilogy has been an interesting take on the franchise, we have yet to get a satisfying showdown between Laurie and Michael in the last two films. This one is supposed to be set a few years after Halloween Kills, so it'll be interesting to see if some of the deaths we thought we saw in that film are final. Tommy Doyle could still be alive after the beating he took from Michael Myers, but we won't know until the film hits screens. As long as they don't kill Jamie Lee Curtis off in the first 5 minutes and then have Michael fight Busta Rhymes in the last act, I think we'll probably be okay, but you never know. Well, the name of the movie is annoying, as it should have been Scream but with a 5 instead of an S. In the tradition of following in the footsteps of Halloween like it started with the original film, they felt the franchise needed multiple movies with the same name. Halloween has 3 movies with the title Halloween, so Scream has some catching up to do. Sydney is back once again as someone wearing the famous Ghostface mask starts killing off people. This time, the victims seem to have ties to the original killings from the first movie. The 3 main leads of Neve Campbell, David Arquette, and Courtney Cox return to take on the famous voice on the phone once again. This is the first one not to be directed by Wes Craven after his passing in 2015, so some fans are leery. The 4th film in the franchise didn't do much to make fans forget the terrible 3rd entry in the series, so let's hope this new film will bring the slasher franchise back to its glory days. Well, there are a ton of other horror films to look forward to in 2022. Being a giant Stephen King nerd, I'm looking forward to the readaptations of Salem's Lot and Firestarter myself. These 10 seem to be the ones everyone is waiting for. When we get to the end of 2022 and start doing wrap-up videos about the worst horror films of 2022, hopefully none of these will make the list. Let us know in the comments what you're looking forward to the most, and don't forget to check out the JoBlo Horror Trailers channel to keep up to date with what new horror films will be hitting your screen.